The PBA Hall of Fame honors players, coaches, and other personalities who helped the league grow into the successful brand that it is today. But it was actually launched just recently, in 2005 to be exact, in celebration of the PBA's 30th season. And since its inception, only 40 people have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. In 2005, former PBA Commissioner Noli Ayala set up two different committees to determine the first batch of names. The selection committee was tasked to prepare the nominations. It is composed of several members of media, former coaches Tommy Manotoc and Freddie Webb, former Crispa forward Padim Israel, and now PBA Commissioner Willie Marshall. The nominees then would be evaluated by the Honors Committee, which was composed of a number of PBA officials and media men, and led by Commissioner Ayala and 10-time PBA champion Francis Arnaiz.
It's always difficult because whoever and whatever you select, there will always be that fringe group, but you have to cut a line, right? And any selection process, there's always a bubble where a few selections are similar to selections that were not selected, right? But in another way, it's also not that difficult because since it was the first installment, there were already names that were clearly and obviously a good fit.
Some PBA fans may ask, how is the Hall of Fame different from the 40 greatest list? For one, the Hall of Fame isn't just about the players. But in order to qualify for the Hall of Fame, a player must have been retired for the last 5 years. Coaches, officials, and media personalities must have worked for at least 5 seasons in the PBA. Sports writers can also make the Hall of Fame, but they must have covered the league for at least 10 seasons.
I don't think it's too strict. I think it's just right. Because if you think about it, the Hall of Fame is really the best of the best, the greatest achievements by anybody na associated sa PBA. So, kailangan naman medyo stringent, but not too stringent naman because number of years is okay, but so at least you give due recognition sa mga nakaraan na. May time frame na you can include those already who are past. It would be silly to include those who just recently retired or who are still playing.
26 of the 40 greatest players have been enshrined in the Hall of Fame. It was only fitting that the first players who entered the Hall in 2005 are the dramatis personae of the vaunted Crispa-Toyota rivalry.
I think it's a good list, especially considering that you have to bring down the list to a dozen lang, no? Obviously, there will be a lot of names that have to be included, but you have to identify first who are the first 12 that are most deserving. They opted for chronological sequencing, and I have no problem with that. That's a good idea because later on, as you move on, the dates will also have to be pushed back as well, no? Mangyayari ngayon, yung later honorees would now feature the players from the 80s, from the players from the 90s, and so on and so forth.
Leading the pack were Ramon Fernandez and Robert Jaworski.
The money man, but Billy Ray Bates is there. Blocked. The Big J not making. It is making.
The living legend won 9 of his 13 titles with Toyota. More importantly, he later cemented his never-say-die myth with his heroics both as player and coach for the Ginebra franchise.
Just a momentum, I believe, when he did that.
And the reason that very quickly Toyota had in possession and a basket by Mon Fernandez.
El Presidente is the first ever 4-time PBA MVP. He won 9 of his 19 titles with Toyota, and he is the all-time leader in points, rebounds, blocks, and minutes played. Joining Fernandez and Jaworski are some of Crispa's brightest stars. 1979 MVP Atoy Co earned a seat in the Hall of Fame for helping the Redmanizers win a pair of Grand Slams in 1976 and 83.
It's a 9-point game, the biggest lead of Toyota coming down 15-0, and the silence of Crispa broken by Atoy Co.
The Fortune Cookie was the first to score both 5,000 and 10,000 points and is 4th all-time in total points. Also in the Hall is Philip Cesar, the 1980 MVP with 15 titles and 2 Grand Slams.
Padim Israel picked up the garbage. Cesar banks it in.
The Tapal King is the first to record a triple-double and is also the first center to win MVP. Bogs Adornado, the league's first ever MVP, made the 2005 batch as well. Adornado, a 10-time champion who's a member of the 1976 Grand Slam team, is the first 3-time MVP and is still known as one of the league's greatest scorers ever.
Road runner goes for 3 points. Oh, what a great shot!
Rounding out the list of players in the 2005 Hall of Fame is Francis Arnaiz. Mr. Clutch, as he is known, is a 10-time champion with Toyota and Ginebra and was one of the most potent scorers in his prime.
How does Francis score? Well, he can score from the outside. Again, there was no three-point shot, but he can score from way out, from 23 feet, from 18 feet, from 15 feet. He can also penetrate using his right hand, and he is very gifted when he attacks the paint because he normally would be able to measure quite incredibly the limbs of the defender and be able to shoot using the looping layup.
There's more to the game than just the men who shed blood and sweat on the floor. Leading the non-player personalities in the 2005 batch was legendary coach Virgilio Baby Dalupan. The Maestro was a perpetual winner with 15 championships, the most in PBA history, well before Tim Cohn reset the record. 9 of those titles came with Crispa. He won 5 more with the Great Taste franchise and added the 1 with Pure Foods in 1990. In 1995, the PBA Coach of the Year Awards was renamed in his honor.
He won the most championships during his time with some of the best teams, particularly yung Crispa teams niya. There was one Grand Slam that he won in 1976. And then consistently, he was able to uplift yung mga ibang teams na nalipatan niya. He went to Great Taste. They won championships as well. He went to Pure Foods. Nanalo din ng championship ang Pure Foods. His record speaks for itself. But what did Baby Dalupan really bring? He had a fiery personality.
Danny Floro, the architect of the Crispa teams that Dalupan coached, was also honored by the league. The businessman built the franchise that has the first 2 PBA Grand Slams. Floro was later honored, naming the Executive of the Year award after him in '93. 3 of the PBA's innovators, Leo Prieto, Emerson Cositeng, and Rudy Salud, were also inducted in 2005. Prieto served as the very first commissioner from 1975 to '83 and is known as the father of the PBA. The PBA Annual Awards was later named after him. Cositeng was the league's first president in 1975. Salud, meanwhile, authored the league's constitution and bylaws and saw the PBA grow from 6 teams to 8 during his time as the 3rd commissioner. The last inductee was legendary commentator Joe Cantada.
This is the Grosby PBA 100% Award.
Smoke Joe was a wizard with the mic, the main voice on air for the PBA's games aired by Vintage in the 1980s. He succumbed to lung cancer in 1992, but not before setting the standard for commentators while leaving fans with golden calls and timelessly poetic player nicknames.
Kung may Baby Dalupan sa coaching, Joe Cantada naman para sa sports commentating, at least in the early years ng PBA, first 10, maybe 15 years, siya talagang gold standard. Siya ang gustong gayahin, siya ang gustong pakinggan ng mga tao. And he left a lot of lasting memories. Kahit short lang yung time niya talaga. He's really the one that people will remember most and will respect the most during yung early years na.